Judge Napolitano has been making a lot of sense lately, which is strange. Now, the latest example of him making a lot of sense is when he was talking about Supreme Court pick Brett Kavanaugh, and he is saying something that I've actually heard a lot of other Republicans say, conservatives say, and so I just found that all fascinating and I wanted to share it with you. Take a look.
The Washington establishment, sometimes known as the swamp, wanted Judge Kavanaugh, and the people around the president wanted Judge Kavanaugh, led by Don McGahn, the White House legal counsel, longtime friend of Judge Kavanaugh, and they prevailed.
But are you suggesting?
So you're saying it's a swamp pick?
Yes, I'm saying that this is. I am disappointed in the president because this is not the type of person that he said he would pick. Justice Gorsuch was. This person is at the heart and soul of the DC establishment against whom the president railed.
Okay, so man, I got to give Napolitano a lot of credit. So what I'm looking for in this country is an honest debate. We don't have to agree all the time. As long as you're not doing talking points and you're not just reflexively on one person's side or one party's side, but you actually care about your ideology, whether you're right wing, left wing, somewhere in the middle, etc. That's a democracy that we're supposed to have. What I can't stand is the talking points on television, and of course the politicians just representing their donors. So I've got a million disagreements with Napolitano, and some of his opinions are kooky. But he has been really principled through the Trump administration. And he was on several shortlists for Supreme Court. Now that's crazy, but he's just a guy on TV. But you know, Trump's nuts. And so
I forgot that he was a potential Trump nominee.
Right.
Do you think maybe he's salty?
No, quite the opposite. I give him more credit because knowing that he could have been on, that he was on some of Trump's list, at least according to Trump, he continued to, from time to time, criticize Donald Trump. This is not the first time he's doing it. It's now been at least a half a dozen times. So he's being honest, and whether you agree or disagree, I super appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, I do too, and I agree with you. I think the biggest issue in terms of polarized politics in America is that you don't have honest actors anymore. Right. You have people who, I mean, especially when it comes to someone like Trump, there are people on the right who have been raging against things that Trump is doing for decades, right? And then Trump comes into office, does exactly what they criticize other presidents of doing, and then they immediately change their tune.
And Napolitano hasn't. Yeah. And then you see so many others who think they might be able to get a good job. Like, oh, Donald Trump, he's the best, he's the greatest. Here's Napolitano who could have an unbelievable job that, I mean, that would be nuts that if he was, nominated, but there's some percentage chance. And no, he's not pulling his punches. Unlike the other betas in the Republican Party who are like, oh, I found an alpha, take my bananas, right? Napolitano is standing on principle. Look, I will not forget that. That's fantastic. And by the way, he's right about Kavanaugh's background. Now, you might love the Republican Party, but that guy is deeply enmeshed in Karl Rove, George W. Bush, Jeb Bush, and standard establishment Republican politics, serving the donors and doing whatever they want. Look, I'll tell you even a quick example here. One of the cases that Kavanaugh ruled on was a case involving SeaWorld. A killer whale had killed one of the trainers, and they were seeking, workman's comp. I mean, if you can't get workman's comp from getting eaten by a killer whale, what can you get it for? So now, it would have been okay, in my opinion, for a conservative judge to go, yeah, but it doesn't qualify because of X, Y, or Z. But Kavanaugh didn't rule that. He ruled, no, OSHA doesn't even have the right to regulate SeaWorld. So the killer whales can go kill people all they like that work at SeaWorld, and OSHA, which's job is to protect workers, is not allowed to protect the workers. Now, why does he do that? Because he is a swamp monster. Jeez. He has gotten everything he got from corporate donors. So that's him raising his hand saying, just like Gorsuch.
Yeah.
So I disagree with Napolitano on that one, saying I will let corporations do anything to their workers.
What was the Gorsuch ruling again in regard to the truck driver?
There was a truck driver who was freezing to death, his company ordered him to stay and freeze to death. He didn't. He went to safety, and they fired him. Every other judge that looked at it and said, yeah, you don't have to freeze to death if your company orders it. Gorsuch says, yes, you do. They had every right to fire you because you didn't listen to the orders. You should have stood there. By the way, it's not an exaggeration. He was freezing to death. He'd already gotten frostbite, and he started to lose feeling in his limbs. So he was on the precipice. And Gorsuch says, I don't care. If a corporation tells you to freeze to death, you freeze to death. Kavanaugh says, I don't care if a killer whale ate you. If a corporation says that was your job, you shut up and you do your job, and the government is not allowed to protect you. So that's who Kavanaugh is.
Wow.
They're amazing. Lastly, to end on a fun note, if you go back and watch the beginning of that video, I love Hegseth's reaction. He's the most pro-Trump guy. He's the guy I was talking about, the beta, who's like, oh, Trump, right? And he thought he might get a couple of positions in the administration too. So in the beginning, he's like, Napolitano, yeah, swamp, right? And then as Napolitano explains that Kavanaugh is a swamp, you see Hegseth going,
I know the best part about these Napolitano Trump criticisms is that, the Fox and Friends especially, whatever he's on, they start off, like jovial, everything's great, and then they do change their demeanor as Napolitano talks. It's interesting.
In this case, the other two hosts were fine, but look at the Hegseth on the video, not happy. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber, and second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.